What is happening at my club, Chelsea Football Club? Well, hopefully a little bit of insight will come from Matt Law from The Telegraph with his exclusive that he's just published. Go check it out on The Telegraph if you would like to read the article. I'm going to be reading through his 5 reasons why Chelsea have not sacked Graham Potter. And like I said, hopefully gaining a little bit of insight behind the scenes. We all know it's bad at Chelsea. We know we're mid-table. We know we spent a lot of money. And odds are, if you watch my content, you'll know my position on the matter. So no need to go over that, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan, and welcome to another video. Let's jump into this and see what we think together. So, bit of housework. Thank you for dropping a like on the vid. I appreciate it. It's a nice way of engaging with the channel. Thank you for subscribing. You can become a member if you want to support the content. There should be a button down below. The 5 reasons Chelsea have not sacked Graham Potter. Exclusive. Chelsea co-controlling owners Todd Boehly and Bedadik Barley remain supportive and have noted Potter's work behind the scenes. Stuff that we are not privy to, ladies and gentlemen. Us in the media, us as fans. And he is the type of individual that won't give anything away to the media. He's obviously made his peace with, no, I do my work. You're not going to get any of the juice from me, you scavengers. And when I say scavenger, I include myself in that. Let's read what Matt has to say in this article. It's a question, it is a question a section of supporters and pundits who have covered the club for years have been struggling with to answer since the embarrassing defeat to Southampton. Why haven't Chelsea sacked Graham Potter yet? The Southampton loss meant that Chelsea have won just twice in their past 14 Premier League games, which would have been terminal for just about every single manager under the previous owner, Roman Abramovich. Potter faced boos and isolated calls for him to leave the club from supporters at the final whistle of the Southampton game, after which he recognised that some people would think that he is the problem at Chelsea. Of course, we've responded and reacted to this claim already here on the channel. That is not yet a view shared by co-controlling owners Todd Boehly and Bedadik Barley, who remain supportive of Potter and believe there are a number of reasons why they should not sack him. Here, the Telegraph Sport exclusively outlines just why Potter is still in the job. Number 1, behind the scenes. Badali and Igbali are privy to what Potter has been working on and facing behind the scenes, while Chelsea fans understandably bemoaned the team selection for the Southampton game, for which Reece James and Thiago Silva were rested. The owners know exactly why. Well, why is that, Matt? It is understood that Potter was told that James, Silva, Havertz, Sterling and Mudryk risked significant injury if they were to start the game, which for James and Silva, Havertz and Mudryk would have been the third in a week. So rather than put his own position first and take a risk, Potter took the advice of his medical team and ended up paying the price. The board believed Chelsea should still have enough to beat Southampton. I believe that as well. You believe that as well. But also recognise that Potter put the club and his players ahead of himself and value that. That actually, before we read on, that actually is something worth noting. Not just Chelsea managers, like all managers, but Chelsea managers are a great example. When they're under pressure and they want to keep their job, you've played like Football Manager and FIFA and stuff. When you've got a big game coming up and you need the points, but your players are fatigued and risk of injury, you put yourself first and you go, I need to just play them. I need my best players because I want to keep my job. And if I ask them, they'll be like, yeah, I'll play Gaffer, but the medical team is saying don't play them. Essentially what he's done here is listen to the medical team and not overloaded his players. That is a good thing, ultimately. Big decisions have been taken in collaboration with the board, such as the decision to leave Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang out of the Champions League squad for the knockout stages and not selecting him for the past 3 league games. Now, I haven't spoken about this enough, I don't think, Aubameyang, because that is certainly, you know, something's going on. Sources at Cobham also claim that training that has been watched personally by Bowley and Iqbali on a number of occasions and analysis has been excellent under the former Brighton man, and believe the results of repetition and hard work will become apparent in game. Okay, well, yeah, but Iqbali and Bowley might like the look of training, but they watch like American sports training, which obviously I'm sure was very high level, but it's not about them being impressed, is it? But if there's been appropriate analysis, then fair enough. So the next one is anger management. You want to feel the pulse, ladies and gentlemen? Let's see what this has to say. Potter has faced accusations from this correspondent, as in Matt referring to himself, as well as former players and pundits, that he's not shown enough emotion on the touchline and indeed the press conferences. But senior sources insist there have been a number of instances that the 47-year-old has become upset and is having tough conversations with players in the dressing room and during individual meetings. Potter is described as being intense. Wow, at Cobham, and there's no fears over his mentality or concerns he is being swallowed up by the job. Chelsea's owners are understood to be pleased that they do not have a head coach who is prepared to point fingers and throw his players or club staff under the bus when things are not going for him. Jose Mourinho. The complaints of the former head coach Thomas Tuchel after the pre-season defeat by Arsenal did not go down well, and Potter's style suits the approach for the owners far better, according to those with inside knowledge of behind the scenes. Yeah, good. I mean, I do want him to be measured, and or I want the Chelsea manager to be measured in front of press conferences, but if they need to lose their shit in the background, then do so. Well, apparently, by all accounts, that is what's happening at Cobham. He does give it to the players when they apparently need it. He does not seem intense, does he? He seems the opposite of intense, but at Cobham, he's intense. Bravery. What does bravery come into it? While many would say Chelsea took a bet on Potter, yeah, we probably would. When they chose him to succeed Tuchel, there is recognition from within the club that he also took a risk on them. Well, he also gets paid a lot of money. Club sources have noted that top managers and coaches do not like to take a job mid-season, with Bielsa the latest example of that, turning down the Everton job. Yeah, I think we need to be completely measured here and also understand the huge pay rise. Although, at the same time, Potter was offered big jobs. He turned down the Tottenham job. They would have paid him loads of money as well. But yeah, let's not be naive here. Money's involved as well. Potter only agreed to take over at Chelsea mid-season. Well, he not only agreed to do that, he also left an incredibly stable environment at Brighton, risking his reputation and immediate future in the process. Potter had accepted that results had not been good enough, but there remains a feeling inside Stamford Bridge that he at least deserves one pre-season to properly work with the squad and start a season as Chelsea manager, rather than paying the price for the problems that he inherited. True, I would concede that, but I also don't think he's done a top job lately as a manager. You'd have to recognise that as well. The club, look, this is essentially saying, we get it, but you don't see everything. That's what I'm reading so far. I've not considered sacking Potter or replacing him. The club haven't. But if they did, which top manager or coach would be brave enough to take on the current squad with 3 months in the season to run? Not many, if any. Pain game is next. What a pain game. Chelsea owners knew very well that they had a rebuild on their hands, and they brought the club from Abramovich. They also calculated that the rebuild would most likely be painful, given football does not allow for a 5-year project. Interesting. Senior sources have told the Telegraph Sport that Bowley and Iqbali calculated that they could rebuild the squad and football staff, which they've brought in so many players and so many football staff in the space of 1 year and 3 transfer windows. But that would also bring it ups and downs. The last couple of months have been largely considerable downs, you'd have to say. But there's recognition that some of the work done in the last summer transfer window, predominantly for Tuchel, That's their fault. If they were going to sack him, they should have... Well, it's tricky politically, I suppose. Predominantly for Tuchel, had created many problems as well as solutions. Cobham insiders are well aware that Potter would never have constructed the squad he inherited, and it's felt the January business has been far more in line with his own philosophy, albeit leaving him with far too many players to rotate and keep happy. The current view at Chelsea, together with Potter, must fight and work their way through a difficult example. Yeah, okay, fine. I mean, but there's still a lot of players, and even if there's players that he wouldn't want and players he wouldn't have built, and it's hard to keep them all happy, there's still the available talent there to just win games. So far, like, I'm fine with all this, I've conceded to all this, but, like, no matter what, it's not good enough at the moment. Of course it's not. I mean, I saw, like, Mackenzie from Tifo Sport. He published some... I'm yet to watch the video. I know they did a video on why Graham Potter's struggling at the moment. But he sort of published yesterday on Twitter that the underlying numbers are progressing and improving for Chelsea and how they play. If you're into those kind of stats. Let's get to the final point. Manchester City's example. So City provide the benchmark for Chelsea at the moment. With the club, how they've studied how Tiki Bergerenstein, I apologise for butchering that name, worked very closely with Guardiola to recruit the right types of player. Then they gave the Spaniard time to integrate and bring them out, the best of them. Yeah, do you remember they had, obviously he brought in Claudio Bravo, they didn't work in goal. He brought, was it Nolito? Do you remember that winger? There was a bunch of players that didn't work. So I mean, I suppose you could use that as an example. Not everything went to plan for Guardiola in his first season at charge at City. When the club finished trophyless, and it has been apparent that the new signings would need to be given time as the head coach. Yeah, and Guardiola had a pre-season as well. Just as Bergerenstein. I feel like it's going to be one of those names I just keep saying the word and it loses meaning and I don't know what I'm doing anymore. So he'd worked with Guardiola before at Barcelona. In fact, Man City prepared for Guardiola's arrival for years, in fact, in terms of building the infrastructure for him, whereas we're doing this all backwards and jumbled up. Chelsea's sporting director Paul Winstanley had worked with Potter at Brighton. Of course, we brought in Carl McCauley from Brighton as well, who's worked with him. In Winstanley and his co-sporting director Lawrence Stewart, Chelsea now believe they have the right support around Potter, and the January signings can thrive under him and his style of play, both off and on the pitch. Also Vivell. Vivell's always next to Potter in the dugout, isn't he? Which is interesting as like a sporting recruitment guy. I suppose he needs to see the football close, but he's got an earpiece as well. So I wonder what he's doing there. You know, who's he talking to? What's he listening to? And why? I mean, I guess if he's doing scouting stuff, he needs to see his team play. I mean, in theory, it's great. It's very interesting though. It's a bit. But Potter has not yet even had a full month to work with them, and Bowley and Iqbali do not believe sustainable success will come from changing the manager or head coach every 6 months. So, in short, Potter has taken the advice of his medical staff rather than risking players. He does get angry and intense behind the scene. The owners, as well as analysts, have watched training and believe it's very impressive. They believe he needs time with the new players, as well as time with the new staff. They understand that everyone's taken a risk, including Potter, to make this work. So how do you feel? Well, he's not going to get sacked, and basically, essentially, it boils down to they know more than us about the situation, and for them, it's enough to not sack him. I mean, they could easily get twitchy fingers and give him the bullet. Because they're like, we've got to win, we've got to get at least some form of European football or our investment's screwed. I don't think they look at it like that. They're looking at their investment as like a 10, 20 year project, I think. And they're not going to flinch in the first few months when they're trying to bed in the foundations. Of course, it just sucks for us Chelsea fans watching this crap. hopefully it gets better. I mean, we've got 3 big games coming up. If we get good results, I mean, after that Southampton game, are you expecting anything positive? I mean, if we play like Dortmund again, but we are walking on a minefield. It is interesting because Matt Law and the Telegraph have clearly spoken to insiders, as they do at Cobham at Chelsea, and that's the feeling. That is the feeling. Let me know what you think. Comment down below. I'll be interested in reading the comments on this one. Thank you for your interactions, your likes and shares. You're welcome to subscribe. Yeah, and I look forward to seeing you guys very soon. Peace.